Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxson, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers. Carter Wilcoxson coming to you from sunny, warm, summertime Phoenix, Arizona. Very excited. It has been a while since we've recorded a new show, and I'm going to let everybody in on the reason for that and an update with who I am joined with today, Dr. Ben, who is going to be our interim co-host. Tim James is on sabbatical for right now. When I say sabbatical, I just mean he is really busy doing all of the things he does on a regular. In fact, he's been in Medellin, Colombia for quite a bit. So I am very pleased to introduce to the Health and Wealth Podcast community, Dr. Ben from Southern California. Dr. Ben, thank you so much for being our co-host.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to being a part of this for a while and see how it goes.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are, everybody is a little bit different. Tim James, Mr. Chemical Free Body himself, had a lot to be able to share with us. He's been on that health journey himself and everything. And there's a lot of similarities that I found when I was introduced to Dr. Ben from our podcasters from over at Mission Matters. A little shout out to Mission Matters there. And Dr. Ben, I'm going to go ahead and sort of give like a little bit of an interview so that everybody here can get a better sense of, where you're at. Obviously, I said Southern California, everything, and a little bit of your background. When we say doctor, right, that could be a lot of different things. So with all of that being said, why don't you share just maybe a 30,000-foot overview of, what it is that you do and, what your journey has been to become Dr. Ben.
Sure. Well, I'm a board-certified chiropractor here in Los Angeles, and I've been practicing for almost 26 years come this November, right? And so I have two clinics here. We do more than just chiropractic back pain. We focus on a lot of restoring biomechanically the spine, not only just getting pains and aches taken care of, but really taking care of people and getting their health back. So we're very centered on the nervous system, the functional issues that we have, and functional neurology, dealing deep down with things with concussions, stress, traumatic brain injuries. So I've been doing that for decades, and we see from pediatrics and newborns all the way up to seniors. And I've been blessed to work with amazing teams over the decades to just really broaden up our scope and learn several layers of support and restoring health and just getting people back to doing what they love to do so they could enjoy the time that we have on this earth together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So share with the Enrichers, and the Enrichers are obviously, our community that we call them. And again, thank you again for being patient with us, Enrichers, for getting the Health and Wealth Podcast show rocking and rolling again. Share with us, what was it that kind of sort of led you to want to get into that field in the first place? Was it something that happened, when you were younger? Did you have a parent that was sort of in it? How did that come about?
Well, yes. When I was young, my mom had me at 40, and she always had some health issues. So by the time she was 50, I was 10. And when I would go to all of her doctors and appointments over the years, she started having more and more health issues. And I just noticed that the medical system for really attaining health was not working. And even as a teenager, during my early teens, mid-teens, and late teens, all I noticed was the medications were getting more and the sickness was getting even more dramatic. So it started from pains and then ended up with heart issues. And I saw my mom go through a lot of processes, a lot of heart testing, a lot of diagnosis with really no answers. And as a young person, I just didn't know that there was any other way. I didn't know much about chiropractic, but I call it my divine experience, where there was a moment in my life. There was a night that I was at a huge event, and somebody came up to me, a family friend, and I think I was 19 or maybe 18, 19 years old, first year in college, and just kind of whispered into my ears, like, you're going to be a chiropractor. You should be a chiropractor. And for some reason, that just rang into my system. It just dinged me, pinned me. And over time, I was more the arts person. So I was in music engineering. I was a DJ back then. I was really a great 19, 20-year-old just living the life. And the academics were just really not my strong suit as far as, chemistry, all the pre-med stuff. And so for some reason, I was on my college campus and I got drawn in to go look at and go to the Career Center and just look into chiropractic. I found a book that was in the Career Center. And the more I read it, the more it was those moments in your life where things just stopped moving and things just clear, like the words popped out of the book and just jumped onto me, like grabbing me. And I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. And so I went on, I did my pre-meds, I did all my schooling here. I went to a chiropractic university in Atlanta, Georgia. And a lot of this was not even experiencing chiropractic myself, but I was just being pulled and drawn into it. And all of these magical things worked out for me. And I was able to continue and go to chiropractic school. And I'm in love with chiropractic. I love serving people, love helping people. And now basically those events of seeing what my mom had gone through, all the physical issues, all the testing, all the medication, she was a victim of OxyContin, so she was in a lot of pain. She was on this stuff. And I got to tell you, I just saw her deteriorate. And unfortunately, her kidneys failed at 72. And, we lost her back in 2006. So this really grounded me into my mission of having to not only help people, but save people's lives, like keep them on a path of health and wellness. And it's just been my gift. I love what I do. I love the service of it. I love the results of it. And that's been my path for the last 27 years. So 26 years. So I hope that helps and gives you a little bit info and insight about my.
No, that's absolutely great. And thank you. And when you have a loved one, especially a mom, right? I mean, that could be really devastating, but it can obviously give you that influence that I'm sure helped to compel you to want to be able to help other people that in a more naturopathic way, right? Because you're more naturopathic generally speaking, as a chiropractor, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We try to stay holistic. In our practice, we talked about vitalistic, which is we look at everybody as a whole, and we try to do everything as naturally as possible. We do supplements in our office, we do detoxing, we do weight loss, all the things that we can do as naturally as possible to keep people away from pharmaceutical drugs and keep them out of surgery if not needed, and really keep them functioning at their optimal. So we always are looking at every one of our clients vitalistically. In turn, it takes some of this stuff is their personal life too. And we'll get into that a little bit, how our personal lives are emotional stresses and all of those other things, they play a role into our health and fitness.
So you're born and raised in Southern California, is that correct?
No, I was born in Israel.
Oh, okay.
And raised in Southern California. And both of my parents are Iranian Jews.
Wow, that's unique. right? A little bit.
It
feels,
is.
anyway.
It is. Yes, it's a mixture of a lot of cultures. I came here when I was 5 years old, and everything I know is Southern California with the university in Atlanta. But my whole life and all of my experiences are pretty predominantly here in Los Angeles.
Estate planning. What does that even mean? When the inevitable happens for everyone on this planet, your estate plan kicks into action. But first, let's start with what an estate is. An estate is simply everything you own. Now, here's the issue and what needs to be understood when this event occurs. You only have two choices on this plan. Number one, either you plan how your estate gets handed out and distributed to those you leave behind. Or number two, your state decides who gets everything you own. For the first time ever, you can now take complete and total control of this plan that you've been deprived of for most of your life and generations before you. You can get personalized assistance along the way with a team of specialists whose job it is to make sure you have true peace of mind. It's important to understand that estate planning is a journey, and rest assured that our team will be available to you all along the way and at every step. Welcome to Estate Plan, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. To learn more, make sure to reach out to your local advisor licensed with us or go to our website for more information.
So let's talk a little bit more about your schooling, because I'm interested you're in Southern California, you go all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. Talk a little bit about, the type of schooling, because I remember growing up, I'm early 50s, and I remember growing up, maybe it still has this sense that is sort of quackery as a chiropractor. Like can you talk a little bit about how,
I'll tell you all the education that goes behind that. So just like medical school, you're going to need to have all of your pre-meds done. So you have to take your chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, all the sciences that are required, anatomy, physiology, all of the things that are required just to be accepted into chiropractic school. Chiropractic school is usually 4.5 years. All right. This was the largest university. There was a school here in Los Angeles, but I was looking for at that time, the best school in the 90s, which was Life University in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a massive campus. They had phenomenal sports teams. They had phenomenal clinics. They were top of research. So I looked at this school and I was like, wow, this is it. I wanted to have a university style experience, not just be in a building, but a massive campus. And it was an anchor. We had about 350 students in our quarter alone. So we had 4 quarters a year. So it was, again, 4.5 years. So the education, basically, I could tell you the first 2 years of medical school and chiropractic school are absolutely the same. Medical terminology, the diagnosis, osteology, neurology, studying. In fact, the chiropractor has to know more about the entire body than anybody else. When you're a cardiologist, your focus is just on the heart. Nephrologist, you're just focusing on the kidneys. You can pick all of these things, but as a chiropractor, we had to study everything. And we had to do it in depthly because we were being scrutinized at time, just like you said, that like we were being challenged to, hey, are you? So our hours for the first 2.5 years are identical. We do actually more radiology, which is looking at x-rays and identifying issues on x-rays than any medical doctor, unless you're a radiologist. So we definitely have more time. Hours, if you put the hours side to side, when medicine goes into the pharmacological studies and they start to look at how to treat disease and issues with medicine, we go into hands-on vitalistic approach where now we have to look at how the nervous system works, where the stress is, how to create these corrections and restoring health, not just pain and joint stuff, but restoring health, creating optimal function. So while they're looking at medicine, we're looking at the body. And again, the time, the diagnosis, we got, I could pretty much take the medical exam, got to know the terminology. I have to know the diagnosis. And again, other than going into the specialty, the general practitioners, we are side to side on the amount of time that we've spent in school and the education that's involved.
Wow. So it's not just an honorary doctorate then.
No, it's absolutely not. It's a lot of time, a lot of studying. And again, I knew I was going up against a lot of stigmatisms about chiropractic and what people thought about it, the stigma about it. So I knew I had to go above and beyond to really prove myself. So it was challenge. They always say in the chiropractic school, you better be dipped in Teflon because things are going to be thrown at you all the time. And you better know how not to let it stick to you and move forward with your vision and mission.
So I'm always curious about, those who go to get their doctorate and everything. I know there's a lot of, competition. I know there's a lot of stress, right? I'm curious how many students you started at the same time with that got all the way through the program, was percentage wise, maybe even like how many that start actually get all the way through the program?
There was definitely a lot of try. The first 6 months are just like boot camp. They're looking to push out that whatever they have, they want to rule them out. So we did lose a lot at the beginning. I think we finally ended up with about 260 out of the 350 of graduation. Some fell behind, some totally dropped out, but it did kind of chisel through who it's going to take. But the first 6 months, that's where you're going to lose a lot of the people who are deciding, hey, you know what, this is just not for me.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably the same across the board, whether you are a pulmonologist or a radiologist or, cardiologist. I'm sure that those percentages are probably about the same. The point I'm trying to obviously make is that this is a serious doctorate that you have, right? This is a serious profession that, has to go through a lot of scrutiny in order to help the general public. But at the heart of it, though, is the heart about you caring about wanting to help people, but more in a naturopathic way. Is that fair?
That's right. And listen, it's not that I don't believe in medicine. Medicine saves lives all the time. I always compared, I was just speaking to a patient about this yesterday, and he gets it. If there was a fire in your home and your house was burning down, who would you call to come? Who would you call?
Yeah, firemen, right?
The fire department, right? Because they got all the tools. They got the water, they got the axes, they got the ladders. Yeah. They're going to come, and they are the emergency team to come back. Now, they put out the fire. You got new blueprints of the house. It's time to build. Would you call the fire department to come help you build your house?
No, of course not.
Who would you call to come and restore your house?
Contractors and
plumbers, framers,
yeah.
People who are going to look at your house.
But yeah, totally.
And to me, predominantly, medicine is a phenomenal emergency. Like we had another patient of ours who contracted the virus, became septic, and man, that UCLA Reagan saved this little girl's life and had her out of the hospital in less than 2 weeks. It was a miracle. And that is the fire department. But if you are looking to restore your health and you want to go, what we usually do, we go to our doctor and say, hey, man, this is going on, which is a body's way of telling you you're in crisis. And you're asking the fire department to how to restore your health, where their best job is to put out fires and get you out of emergency. So that's always important. But to restore health, you got to look at somebody who's going to look at the whole and look at you all the way through, even your lifestyle, how you live, what kind of work you do, taking in all of this into consideration to see how we're going to get your blood pressure down, get you out of your acid reflux, get your migraines to go away, get your constipation to all of these things that are just signs of your body telling you that you are out of balance.
Yeah, so you're just trying to get to the actual root cause of it, right? You're not trying to mask it, Band-Aid it, or anything like that.
That's it. And believe it or not, I don't treat anything that I just talked about. All I do is I restore the function of the central nervous system that has pressure. It just happens to be housed in the spine. It's just protected by bone. But imagine, remember Christopher Reeves?
Oh yeah, of course.
Remember the issue he had with the horse fall, and it was just a small tear. But look at paraplegic, quadriplegic, ventilator, feeding tube, everything that was controlled by the central nervous system.
Yeah.
And so that's how delicate that is. We abuse it. We do all kinds of things. We do trampoline. We do marathons. We just do so many things, sitting behind computers for 8 hours a day. We weren't designed for this. This ends up stressing out the system. Later on, we get symptoms. We go to our doctor to try to fix these symptoms, but that's not what they're good at. That's not their job. And so we end up putting people on medication, testing out things, and just causing more side effect, more issues, and it goes down, down, down from there. So that is the basic thing, is your central nervous system controls everything. And of course, you got to detox, you got to supplement, you got to do all of these great things because, hey, we got bad water. We can go on forever. So you really got to work hard to maintain and hold on to your health, just as much as anything you got to do with your finances, with managing your finances, maintaining your finances and wealth. All of that takes work. You can't just let money sit there. It's not going to do anything on its own. It requires somebody to take a look at it and really interpret the information and then make a game plan and create results.
Yeah. And then, of course, they have to follow the plan on top of it, right? I mean, you can, the old saying, lead a horse to water, right?
That's it.
Can't take a drink. So, one of the things that my co-host, Tim James, who again in Richards, if you're just joining us, we're here with Dr. Ben, who is our fill-in, if you will, indefinitely, actually, because I'm not sure when Tim is going to be able to make it back. But, he used to say, it's your environment, right? It's the environment that you are in that is causing the things that are happening to you, right? So if you want to change, you have to change your environment. Take a look at it closely. What does your environment look like? What kind of water are you drinking? You just kind of sort of touched on that, right? The food that garbage in, garbage out, right? Type of an idea. So that's really, in essence, what you're talking about is the environment has to be changed. You can't just mask it or pill it to death, I guess.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things that happen where people are hooked on, hey, this is genetics. I have no control over this. Did this happen because of my genes, right? When we're showing our patients what's going on and they're like, oh, is this my genetics? It's very little genetics and more lifestyle and environment. Well, my dad had it, of course. And what do families pass down? Their habits and their programming and their environment. So we can try to hide behind genetics and a lot of things, but predominantly it's lifestyle choices and the environment. And we have to address those things. And without addressing those things, we don't get the changes that are necessary.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently, but we're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
So, in Richards, again, thank you for joining me today. We're going to be having Dr. Ben on here for a while now, again, as I mentioned before. And Dr. Ben, I've like one last little thing I want to kind of sort of go down.
Sure.
let's talk a little bit more about your personal life, right? So, family, married, kids, share with the Enrichers about that.
Absolutely. I'm married, beautiful wife. My wife is from Czech Republic. We have 2 children. Zohar, who has his own amazing podcast, and he's an amazing entrepreneur. He's only 13 years old, but he's got multiple businesses going on, and he's got his own podcast. Maybe one day I could get on his. Yeah. And my daughter, Sadie, who's just absolutely amazing. Again, wanted to be a chiropractor since she's 2 years old. Still, 11 years old, all decided like, man, I can't wait to be a chiropractor. Love reptiles. We got snakes and bearded dragons and geckos all over this house. In terrariums. And so, again, my whole family lives on the principles that we are talking about. And together, we've raised 2 amazing kids as naturally as possible, very well adjusted. And, these kids don't know anything different. Like, I tell the story is like when my daughter was in 1st or 2nd grade and another girl had stomach aches. She's like, oh, so is your dad going to adjust you when you get home? Because that's all she's known her whole life. And they've been raised in this philosophy and this mindset of like, hey, no, my body does it. I'm out, Dad. I need you to check me. So my wife, my 2 kids, again, and married since 11/11/11. So we got married in November 11th, 2011. And we just been living in Los Angeles, recently relocated to Orange County. So we're North Orange County, just about a couple of years. But my 2 offices are still in Marina del Rey and Century City.
Nice. So how old is Sadie? Because I heard your son's 13. How old is Sadie?
She's 11.
She's 11. Okay. I thought you said 11, but I wasn't sure. There's a lot of 11s in there. So
yeah, a lot of 11. Yeah, 11 years old, sweetheart. And like, it was really weird because she started doing all these things that I was doing. And at 2 years old, like I was telling my wife's name is Misha. I'm like, look at, like, she's checking her doll. Like, she's checking their spot. She's doing all the thing. And it was at just 2 years old. And we started shooting video of this. And over the years, it just progressed. And, if you would to ask her now, and the people ask her all the time, I was like, what do you want to be? She's like, I'm going to be a chiropractor. And she's got a really strong will to helping people and animals. She wants to be a horse chiropractor, dog chiropractor, cat chiropractor. Wow. So all whatever has a spine, she's willing to work on it.
Wow. That's very interesting. So there you go. Your environment again, right? What you're conditioned, right, can be a positive, which is, as parents, that's what you want. You want to have a positive environment, for your kids, right? And as most of the Enrichers know, I've been married. We just celebrated 20 years this year. So that's, pretty awesome. We've got a girl and a boy ourselves, 20 and 17. But where did you, and what was your wife's name again?
My wife's name is Misha.
Misha. Okay. Where did you and Misha meet?
So she was actually friends. One of the things that happens as a chiropractor is most of your friends are in the chiropractic mindset because our lifestyle, right? And so she was a friend of another female chiropractor of mine. And she was a friend who says, hey, you know what? I'm going to introduce you guys together. You guys are going to get along really well. And so we got introduced together, went to I invited her to a Christmas party. And back, I think it must have been 2008, 2009. And we met and we had this vibe together. And, it's just that feeling, this was the person. And I was like, yep, there we go. This is it. I basically knew by our second date that, like, wow, she's it. And that was 2000, or it was December of 2008, early 2009 when that came together for us.
Wow, that's awesome. And then so 2 kids and living in Southern California, recently to Orange County, and
Yeah, it's awesome. I gotta tell you, I was out paddleboarding at the harbor just before the call. So, I've been blessed, tremendous staff, and just being here allows me to work in the mornings. I get to work from home 2 days a week, managing the 2 clinics and the doctors and all the patient files. And so it gives me, Southern California is not easy. It's definitely a challenging place. It's got a lot of things that just, you're upstream. It's an hour and a half commute each way on a decent day. So, but there are just some great perks. My entire family moved here back in the early 80s. So my brothers, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, our huge entire family all live in this area. So it's been challenging to leave as much as we like to, because one thing that I was always raised with is family. And no matter what comes and goes, certain families always going to be there for you. And so they're at the end of the day, in our culture, that's what is important.
Yeah. Family, traditional family is so super important. And honestly, I think the fabric of any great society. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's awesome. Well, hey, Enrichers, you have just gotten a chance to learn a little bit about my new co-host, indefinitely, Dr. Ben, who's going to be coming on here with me on a regular basis. Next, we will start having other guests coming on, and it'll be the same sort of format that we've had in the past. But I thought it was important for our listeners, the Enrichers, to get a sense on what it was that you were about, right? Get a sense of who you are and everything. So, Dr. Ben, I'm really looking forward to us having some guests coming on and you being able to share your insight into the whole holistic and naturopathic way as being a board certified chiropractor.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great relationship. Thank you, Carter.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Hey, Enrichers, until next time, you will be able to find all of our previous guests, by the way. It's been so long since I've done this, I forgot. Make sure to go check out our website at www.thehealthandwealthpodcastshow.com to be able to see all of our previous guests that we had on ahead of time of this. But until next time, I am your co-host, Carter Wilcoxson, CSI Financial Group and Epic Services Company. Wishing you a very wonderful day. And you can see all of our other podcasts or find us wherever you get your podcasts at Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, whatever the case may be. So until next time, we will see you on the Health and Wealth Podcast. Dr. Ben, thank you again so much for filling in, and I'm looking forward to it.
My pleasure. Same here.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Hey, Enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxson.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.